folks. Thanks for being here. We're going to open up the questioning today. Front row middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Ryan. Kate Silver moving back to tight end. Why do you feel like that was the best move for your team?
First off, Cade, I think, always saw himself as a linebacker growing up, and when he came here, and then he put a whole year of work into playing tight end. And the way it played out in the Rose Bowl is we were down some linebackers, and I think when he got over there, he realized that he loves being over there at linebacker because he can play with that edge. So at the end of the day, it was really up to him. We same thing when Steele went over to defense. We want guys to own it, and I think he saw, moving forward, he's got a huge ceiling at tight end. I think when you look at the work he's put in the past year and his skill set, he's got a chance to be a really good tight end. And I think the thing he would tell you is he wants to bring that same defensive mentality to the offense, and he could do that. He's strong, he's powerful, he's really athletic, got really good ball skills. Was a really good high school basketball player. So, he's back over at tight end and had a good couple practices.
Entering spring on either side of the ball or anything, what was maybe your biggest concern? I know it's only been 6 practices, but has that been alleviated at all?
What part? Oh, any concerns?
Any concern that you had? What was your maybe biggest concern entering spring, and do you feel better about whatever that was now?
I think it's, first off, you're putting in a new defense, so that's certainly a part of it. And I really have been impressed with the energy over there, with the teaching that's going on. We still have a long way to go, but it's been, for the first 6 practices, we're off to a very good start there. I think the guys are playing with confidence. But also just the physicality that those guys have worked the last 7 weeks to get in better shape. They're stronger, they're more powerful. So that part's good, and they're playing with confidence right now.
We'll go deep right. Spencer Holbrook.
And just before that, just the other one's the offensive line, just because it's a new coach in there with Coach Fry, and just kind of getting that continuity and depth in the O-line. So, yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's all good. All good.
Spencer Holbrook.
Yeah, you're out.
Ryan, I guess that's where I was going to go next, was the offensive line.
Yeah.
With Jim having the philosophy of not really tackling, and you guys not wanting to do too much physical, is there like a certain select things that you really want to see accomplished from Justin in that unit this spring, or is it just kind of take it by day?
We'll tackle some this spring. I think, just philosophically, some of the drills that that have kind of happened over the years sometimes we can get into bad habits. So we decide we're going to tackle to the ground. We just want to go 11 on 11. And so we'll get a chance to do that. But look, going back to the offensive line, I think, you want to find out, that you have 5 guys, and then you want to find 6, you want to find 7, you want to find 8. And then it's just really a couple things you're looking at. One is, in the run game, can we knock back the line of scrimmage? And can we get physicality and movement? And then in the pass game, firming up the protection. And we're going against very good guys on either side of the ball every day. So you're getting challenged, which is great. I think our defensive line has been challenged in the offense and vice versa. So you just kind of want to see how you stack up against each other every day in practice, how you compete. And I think, guys have a certain amount of talent. We have pretty good talented guys up there, but it's the discipline and skill that you have to create over time. And, we'll look up in another couple of weeks and kind of see where we're at. We're in the middle of it right now. We're asking each guy to, figure out, what are your strengths and weaknesses? What are the things you need to work on? And by the end of each week, have you addressed those things? And then you kind of come up for air and figure out what the next challenge is as an individual. And then as we get closer to preseason, we start to come together a little bit more as a group. But right now the focus is on getting better individually.
You guys have a lot of continuity on that side of the ball with the coaching staff, but is it almost refreshing to have a new voice in there trying to help lead the run game to where you guys want it to be, since it wasn't exactly where you needed to be last year?
I think when you look at year in, year out, there's always that balance that you're talking about of continuity and guys understanding where you want to be and the experience, but then also having fresh ideas and a fresh point of view, and a good mix of that is healthy, I think.
Third row left, Dan Hope. It's 11 orders.
You follow up on Cade, the tight end position as a whole. Just where do you feel about where that group is right now? Is there anyone else at that position that's starting to come along this spring?
I think they're all getting better. It's still only 6 practices in, but really it's the same group as we had last year. Mitch is out for the spring, so we don't have him, but it's the same group just minus Ruck, and so the younger guys got to step up and start to continue to build depth in there, and then we got to get a starter in there and get Cade going and get Joe going and get G going and see how they can fit into this thing, but. But we're not there right now in terms of packages. We're more about just trying to develop individually and trying to figure out what their skill sets are. And then as we start to, go closer to the preseason, we start to put those packages together based on the teams we're playing.
Tanner McAllister, he lost his black stripe. What have you seen from him, and are there any other newcomers that have started to catch your eye?
Well, I think first off, what Tanner's done is he understands the defense. He's almost like a coach out there, kind of like one of those old player coaches out on the field, and he's been able to help guys with that. And his experience really shows up on the field because he can recognize what's how teams are trying to attack him, and he feels comfortable in this style of defense. Obviously, he's got years of experience in it. Other newcomers, I mean, there's a bunch. There's a bunch that have flashed. If I say one, I'm going to forget two or three, and they'll get upset. So I think that hopefully we'll get some of the more of these black stripes off pretty soon.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
With the offensive line, obviously you guys started 4 tackles last year. Is there something to improving the run game, just having guys who are just more natural guards at that position, whether it's Matthew Jones?
Well,
Jackson,
yeah, I think that Paris, is suited best for tackle, but I think Thayer, you'll see him play guard and tackle in the NFL. So I think that was, fine. And I thought that Thayer did a good job there, and I think Paris did a good job at guard too. And some of the stretch schemes that we did, he's athletic, and that worked out okay. But having Matt and Donovan in there at guard now, like you said, a little bit of different skill set and just size in there, and so. I do think in a perfect world you'd like to have a little bit more squared away, thicker guards to be able to handle some of the bull rushes and things you do against bigger size guys inside. But that doesn't necessarily mean it happens, but that's the idea. And I think those guys are going to give us something inside this year, that's what we're counting on.
You guys use Donovan sometimes as like that 6th offensive lineman. Just what do you guys like about him when you recruited him? Just can you talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, Donovan's very athletic. He's very smart, great young man. And now it's about acquiring that discipline and skill, skill to play the guard at the highest level. And he can do it. And certainly he's athletically very, very gifted and very smart, very conscientious. So the more reps he gets, the better he's going to be.
Cade Stover, is that permanent now? Is he just sticking that tight end completely? Or is he
You just never say never, and that's what I told him. But right now his focus is on tight end.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Ryan, you obviously have 2 cornerbacks that started last year coming back. We heard about some of the young guys towards the end of the season behind the 2 starters. What have you seen from that group, and how do you feel about the depth that you're building there?
I feel good about it. We'll have to watch the film and continually see where it's at. Anytime you lose 2 really good players on the outside like that, that's a lot of production to replace. And while guys are talented, they're going to have to step up and make those plays. I mean, those are 2 players that made a lot of clutch catches, and you counted on them to make really tough plays and third downs and when it mattered most. And we think that we have some really good candidates to go, push forward to be those type of guys. But we'll see. It's going to take a lot of hard work, and it's not just going to happen over 4, 5, 6, 7 practices. It's going to take time, and it's going to kind of develop throughout the season. But I think we do have some really talented guys in that room, and the depth is being built.
We saw Josh Proctor doing a little bit more than at least we've seen. How is he coming along, and what do you like from what he's able to give this spring?
I mean, I wish he could do more. He's just kind of getting started and getting moving around out there, with individual drills. And it's been a long road for him to come back from, and that's not easy. He's had a few injuries in his career, so. We wish he could do more right now, but he's kind of inching his way back. But that's okay. It's a long way to August.
Second row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Ryan, with Donovan, was he at any point last year close to being in a spot where you could rotate him in the way you guys rotated Matt Jones in at guard, or was he quite not ready for that yet?
I would say he was probably 7 or 8 last year. And athletically, we felt great about putting him in a game, but just the experience of a true freshman who came in during the summer, not having a full year, that's a tough ask. Not saying he couldn't have done it, but that's why we kind of had him do some of that on the ball tight end stuff, because we felt like there's something there, but we didn't want to overwhelm him with too much stuff.
And I think maybe on the outside there was a lot of people wondering whether or not DeJuan Jones might have tried to go to the NFL after just 1 year of starting here last year. How much conversation was there about that in here? And now that he is back, what's the next step for a guy like that?
Yeah, there was conversation in the building. I know there was conversation outside the building, and you just identify what where you think you could go in the draft, and then you decide whether that makes sense for you and your future. And he wanted to come back and be a first or second rounder. That's his goal, and so he's been challenged with a set of things that he needs to get done if he wants to get there. I don't think there's any question he has the ability and he has the talent to be one of the better tackles in the country. Now, whether he is or not, there's certain things that he's going to have to get accomplished here in the offseason and then during next season to get to that point. And consistency is going to be one of them. But he's done some good things, and I think he knows what those things are that he needs to get done.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row.
Ryan, where do you all think Mitchell Melton fits best?
Well, we've kind of moved Mitchell around a little bit, and he's been up front a little bit more, and his pass rush skills have really been shown here in the first 6 practices. So that's been good. We'll kind of continue to figure that out, but he has shown us that he can play up on a line of scrimmage and be a threat.
Maybe they're not related at all, but is the fact that you can move Cade, move Mitchell around a sign that there's more depth at linebacker than maybe it seemed coming into spring, or are those just unrelated situations?
No, I think when you look at our numbers, there is a little bit of logjam at linebacker, especially being in the 4-2-5. And because of that, you've seen a couple, you see Cade move. Not that was the reason why he moved, but, you see a little bit of movement there. You saw Mitchell move, and because we do have a lot of linebackers right now on the roster. And so guys are trying to find their role on the team. And, I think that's, again, the part of a college coach is you have to figure out how do you best put guys into spots to be successful. And I think we've done that with those 2 guys.
Second row middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Going back to the guards, with Matt Jones, this situation he's been in the last couple of years, having to really compete for a job in the preseason or maybe settle for kind of a part-time job, just for any athlete, I guess, now that it sounds like he's kind of been anointed, for lack of a better term, like he's going to be a starter right now. He's established as a starter, it sounds like. Does that help a guy at this stage of his career going into a season, letting him focus, letting him sort of take that by the reins in a different way?
I think everybody's different. I do think in the offensive line, having some chemistry and being at a spot and having the guy to your right and left being the same guy over and over again does bring a level of consistency that can help a player. Some guys do better when they're in competition every day, having a guy push them. Some guys, once they've been put into that role and they know that that's their role and they don't have somebody looking over their shoulder all the time, they feel like they can focus and do a little bit better there. I think everybody's different. We're hoping that this is a great opportunity for Matt. He's, like you said, he's been thrust into this role, and so far he's been doing a great job. But he's got to keep coming and keep growing because, like every position at Ohio State, the expectation is that you're the best in the country at what you do.
Switching over to defense, did you guys see something different from Teron Vincent in the Rose Bowl, and does that raise the expectations at all for what he can do this year? He had really good games. He flashed at times, and he has a lot of ability. And he's got off to a really good start here this spring, and I think he's got some leadership skills about him. So if we're going to get to where we need to be on defense, he's going to be a big part of it. You say he's had a really good spring. What were you seeing out of him?
I just think his work ethic, his attitude, his production on the field, his work in the weight room over the last, I guess it's 9 weeks now, gotten stronger, gotten faster, another year under his belt of experience and approaching the game, and all those things matter.
Over here far right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
Is there more opportunity to tinker in the spring, or is there such a, emphasis on fundamentals that you don't have time to do any of that?
No, I think both. I think you have to put the emphasis on fundamentals, but you can also take a look at different things. And sometimes you take a look at it and you're like, okay, this is going to take off. And then there's other things that you project that you may want to look into that you just scrap them real early, and it doesn't work that way. So I think schematically you can do some of those things. You can move guys around and look at those things, but quickly you want to make a decision whether that's a good investment or not, because you only have so much time to invest in each guy and each scheme and those type of things. But this is a time to look at different things that are and the journey you go on is different every year, and this is a new journey for us.
Have you already tried some of those things?
Yeah. I mean, certainly the defense is brand new, and that's a whole new thing. But on offense, we've already kind of learned a little bit about this group. It's new. even though you don't lose a lot of guys, all it takes is one or two to have a different dynamic. And so, we're kind of on that journey now, and it's just the beginning, though.
One more thing. What do you know about this helmet that CJ is practicing with, and what can be the possibility? Is this something 10 years down the road, or is this?
I don't really know a whole lot about it other than just, what I've been told. And, they're always trying to figure out different ways to, protect our players. And, sometimes you'd like to get feedback from the players on what they see. From what I've seen, there's certainly a wider vision from the face mask. But I know that they try to get that. Same thing with some of the cleats. We'll give, a couple guys a couple different pairs of cleats to see how that reacts to their feet and those type of things. And so, guys are always trying to find different ways, and we're always trying to find different ways to keep our guys safe. And so we'll get some feedback here from those guys on what they think.
Right behind him, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
You talk about the journey. Is there anything maybe you've seen this spring that you wish was a little further along compared to your past springs?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think, I really have been impressed with how the defense is challenging every day and giving different looks and changing up those type of things. So that's been great. But no, I mean, I think, overall we're right where we need to be right now. But when you're right where we need to be in practice 6 of spring, you got a long way to go. I don't think we're ahead. I don't think we're behind. I think that, we just got to keep swinging.
When you look at bringing in the new defense and Jim Knowles, you're kind of halfway through spring here. Is this where you wanted him to be, and how different is watching how he's operated versus Kerry in your past?
He has a unique way, the way that they teach in their units, and it's been fun for me to sit in some of those and see how he teaches as a group, and then they break up into units. But I would say it's been nice to be around it and see the different style. Everybody has their own unique style, and I think his teaching is very efficient, and the guys grab onto it. There's a lot of teach the teacher, a lot of, you say something, they say it back to you. And it's been good so far, so we'll see.
Front row, middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Travion came in last year, obviously didn't play as a senior in high school, had a very good year. What have you seen in him this year? Do you see a difference in him at all? And what, we know his potential, but from your perspective, what's his potential?
His potential is to be as good as anybody in the country. I think it's just a year under his belt, a little bit more confidence. He's got certain things he wants to get done this spring, and has a good look in his eye. He's a very serious young man who, when there's guys around and he sees that it's going a certain way, he'll encourage them. If he sees it going another way, he'll speak up. He's got a good voice, and he sets a great standard for everybody in the building. And so I think his potential is as good as and big as anybody in the country. I think running back in the spring is a little bit of a challenge because you're not tackling as much, so that part's a little bit tricky. But in terms of protections and pad level and vision and those type of things, he's already off to a good start.
And you said you're basically on schedule, you're happy with how it's going. What do you want to really get accomplished the rest of the spring? What needs to be accomplished?
Well, I think each individual player to get better at the things that they need to improve at. Everybody has their own type of things, and so you can get involved with scheme in this time of year, but to me it's more about the fundamentals and making sure that we're building that foundation moving forward. And so I think that's happening, but that's really what I want to see is just guys get better at their trade and get better at what they're doing. And certainly scheme matters, but more importantly, just fundamentally about hands and blocking and tackling and those type of things as we get going.
Overall, you've been happy with that?
Yeah, I think so. But this is where you see the growth. We had 2 practices, went on spring break, came back, kind of got our legs underneath us. So this week right here, you'll start to see some of that really happen.
Front row right, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, going back to the scheme situation and experimenting and stuff, when you see G. Scott with the possibility of stretching the defense that way and Evan Pryor maybe giving you a bit of a stretch this way, I mean, are those some of the things you're sort of looking at this spring that could be part and parcel that maybe you didn't quite have enough of last year? Just give me some idea of that.
Yeah, well, I think we have to figure out, how many guys deserve to be on the field. That's, kind of how it works. And we have a lot of experience coming back, but we have a lot of talented young guys that are coming on, like you're saying. Those are a few of them. And once we continue to build that, we start to figure out, okay, how can these guys best get on the field to attack a defense? And those are weapons. We have some other guys too that are built like that, and that's exciting. You know, Mitch Rossi, when he gets back, he brings a different skill set than maybe a Joe Royer, Mayan Williams, like you said. So, you know, the more of those guys we can have in the stable, the better. And we do have some really good, talented guys. So, and it isn't so much like a role, although some of it is a role. But it's also just putting guys in the best position to be successful based on their skill set. You know, not asking someone to do something they can't. Now, the more they can do, the more they can play.
But yeah, I was going to say, you almost have to establish them at their regular position before you
That's right.
can set them loose, right? I mean,
Right.
is that tough? I mean, you
Yeah.
know, with G is still a tweener size-wise, for example, you know? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think you list the things that each guy can do, and then you put that package together. Now, the more things you can do, then the more you can play. And it's the same thing on defense. You know, if somebody's a really good pass specialist, but they can't stop the run, then guess what? They're only coming in on third down. And then if you're really good against the run, but you're not as good against the pass, then you're probably playing first, second down. If you're a really good cover guy, but you can't, play the run as good in the back end, you're probably, in a nickel situation playing against the pass. That it's the same thing on offense. And if you're a wide receiver and you can go in there and block somebody in the run game, boy, that gives us a lot of flexibility. If you're a tight end and you can go block a 7 technique, but then you can go outside and run a route against a wide receiver, get open against a safety or a linebacker, that gives us a lot more flexibility, because when you start to scheme up, you're starting to figure out what teams are trying to do based on their personnel, and then that's the game between the coordinators. And so the more guys who can do many things, the better. Like Evan Pryor, for example, he can go run around on the outside, but line up as a running back in the backfield. That gives us something. So you can see the more skill sets that guys can do, the more of a weapon they are for us.
Hey, one other quickie. When Josh Proctor is healthy and on his game, what is special about him? What did you notice the last couple of years, even in preseason last year, that just sort of sets him apart? Maybe that's unfair to say that, but I think he is, in my opinion, he is a little bit of a special guy back there. What, in your mind, what do you want to see that tells you he's back? You understand what I'm saying?
I do. I always say, like, when Josh is at his best, what does he look like? Yeah, I think first off, he's rangy. He can cover a lot of ground. He's extremely physical. He will absolutely get after you, whether it's, receivers downfield or coming up and playing the run game, blitzing. And I remember in the Clemson game, the first time we played him, he got after. I forget who the tailback was, if it was Etienne. He was physical against that guy. He had that hit in the Wisconsin game to end the game. He'll come downhill and he'll play physical. And he also has really good ball skills. He can track the ball, and when he's playing at his best, he's all over the place. He plays with discipline. Can really affect the game in a lot of areas, and he can get away with some things that maybe other guys can't. And that's what we're looking for out of him.
And third row right, Doug Lamerise, Cleveland.com.
You were talking about some guys thrive with the competition, some guys maybe feel it more as they're looking over their shoulder at the guy behind them. I understand at a place like this, there's competition every day. You have more than enough guys who can play. Do you coach guys a little bit different? How do you deal with the guy who says, hey man, we want to make sure we push this guy, versus maybe telling the guy, hey, like, you're good, you've got your spot, don't freak out. What's that like for you and your assistants?
Well, it's just a tough game that's played at the highest level, and you have to be tough competitively, you got to be tough physically, you got to be tough mentally to play in this game, otherwise it'll eat you alive. So that's the first part that we have to understand. That being said, certain guys, they have a little bit of a fear of failure for whatever reason that is. And so I think for a lot of those guys, you try to communicate to them, in a different way than you would somebody who just loves to compete. And if you get under their skin a little bit, that's going to bring out the best side of them. And that's coaching. There has to be certain things that are consistent across the board, but everybody's a little bit different. And I think understanding each guy is critical. But at the end of the day, it's a hard game for tough guys.
Last year, everybody knew it. You talked about it. It was a young team in a lot of ways, right? And I think you could maybe feel that during the course of the season. You have a lot back. You have about as much experience back as any major Power 5 team. You're only 6 practices in. Can you feel it at all? Do you feel at all that, CJ's a second-year guy, Trevion's a second-year guy? You have some more pieces that are back. Do you feel a difference of more experience?
Yeah, but also, these guys are not 20-year vets in the NFL. They have a year under their belt, and there's still a lot of football for them to learn, but everything they're not doing for the first time, and that's good. There's a reference point to go back to going into this season, as opposed to just total unknown of going into it, which I felt like we had last year. And when you have that, you have doubt in your mind. That's just part of it. And there's a reference point, which is important for us. But we still have a lot of football to learn, a lot of work to do moving forward.
And when you have a quarterback like CJ, who's back as a second-year starter, third year in the system, you as the head coach and the play caller, do you spend less time with him because he's more experienced and he doesn't maybe need to spend as much time with you, or do you spend more time with him because now he's getting advanced and you and CJ can almost shape this offense together? What's your time spent with CJ like?
About the same, because you have to do both of those things. But you try not to change just because it's year 2. You try to continue the same mentality that we have. We have certain meetings that I'm in there, and certain meetings where I give them a little bit of space. But no, we try not to change that just based on the second year. Yeah.
Got time for one more set of questions. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
I just wanted to follow up on Cade. Was that something that he in his move to tight end, was that something he brought up with you guys? Did you guys tap him on the shoulder and say there's an opportunity here? How does that conversation get approached?
It's we've had constant conversation since the last Rose Bowl, and something that we wanted to make sure that he, his leadership in the offseason that he had was excellent, unbelievable leadership, and now that he's a veteran in the program, he has a voice, and we want to put him in the best position to be successful, and it's something that there's always been conversation about it, and now that he's been there for a couple practices, we'll continue to talk about it, but he needs to focus on something for a while, in order to be successful. We can't keep bouncing around.
This roster seems like it has a few guys like that. Chip's coming in, moved from running back to linebacker. You had Steele went to linebacker. There seems like a lot of guys who've been able to handle multiple roles. Is that more common now? Is that the same as it's always been? It just seems like a lot of guys have kind of had the skill sets to do multiple spots.
Well, we recruited both Steele and Chip as linebackers coming out of high school. Steele, was kind of both. We said we'll try running back, and if if the situation arises where you want to go play linebacker, that'd be great. With Chip, that's the way we recruited coming out of high school. Was a linebacker. He decided he wanted to try running back at Arizona State, but now as he came back here, he's back to linebacker. So, guys have different skill sets, and I think having the awareness of playing the other side of the ball is a good thing. They're maybe a little bit behind just in terms of experience of playing the position every day, but, the more they get under their belt, the better they'll be.
Clarifying on Josh Proctor, he's doing individual stuff. Is there a chance he'll do any team stuff at the end of spring, or is that ways off?
I don't expect him to do that. Probably just stay in individual drills. If we can get him in some teamwork, non-contact, then we'll do that.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, folks, we're going to open up the floor for Coach Knowles. We're going to open up Coach third row middle, Colin Gay, Rivals.
Hey, Jim. I'm curious about, one of the things Ryan just said was there seems to be a little bit of a log jam at the linebacker spot, and I'm curious what your view on that is, whether it's, Mitchell moving, working with the defensive ends, or Cade moving back to the tight end. I mean, what's kind of your approach on that, and what have you kind of seen as the leader of that room and the leader of the defense?
There's you have to be able to make an assessment, and in order to make an assessment, you got to get the guys repetitions, so and there's a lot of talent, but none of it is completely proven, right? Because you have guys all competing for positions, so that's where you want to take guys and maybe move them to other positions just to get a chance to look at them. I think Tommy has been a great leader for us. I've really liked what I've seen out of Tommy. I think he's mastering the defense quickly and making plays, and he's quiet but he's fierce. And Taraja is also a guy who leads in more of a vocal way than Tommy, but he gives us a lot of that energy.
And I know that, Chip's one of those guys that's coming from kind of making that transition like Steele kind of did, and like Cade was going to, and things like that. So what have you seen out of him? Does he kind of look like one of the, like he's transitioning well into linebacker, or what have you seen out of him?
Yeah, I've seen nothing but good things out of Chip. I mean, I like that conversion of running back to linebacker, or I like that recruiting a kid from high school who was a star running back and also played defense, because they just have a feel. You know, a lot of times we talk about on defense, we talk about the escape hatch. You know, and like Wayne Gretzky said, he doesn't go where the puck is, he goes where the puck is going to be. So these guys that are converted running backs, they can get a feel for where the running back is going to end up. You know, so it's pretty neat. And Chip's doing great, and so is Steele.
Right next door, Griffin Strom, 11 Warriors.
Coach, I know a couple weeks ago you said you guys hadn't been able to implement the Leo position at all. I'm just wondering if you guys have had a chance to do that, or if you could envision maybe a scenario where you guys don't play that as much this year as maybe you have in the past.
Yeah, we dropped a bunch of it in today, actually, and so my plan has been, you know, to push back off. So I'll download a bunch of information, and then I'll pull back into like calling the same defense for a while, and then download a bunch of information. And we want to be able to get everything on film so we can coach off of it. Yeah, but we put it in today, and I told them we're not going to call it a Leo. We're going to call it a Jack for now, because the Leo is the king of the jungle. So when you become the Leo, that's a big deal, because you can do what a DN does and you can do what a linebacker does. So right now it's just more of what we call a Jack position. And yeah, a bunch of guys got a shot at it today. Jack got a shot at it, and yeah, there you go. Like him, I like him a lot. You know, he's serious about it. The guy who's impressed me after the move quickly was Mitchell. You know, Mitchell has done a great job for Coach Johnson, and then we put him in this Jack position, and I thought he showed up very well. So he's kind of been a guy who's jumped out at me.
Any other guys beyond those two that have been seen?
Yeah, you know, JJB, right? He played a little bit today. He's kind of coming off an injury, so he got some walkthrough reps in it. Caden, I think, is a candidate, and I've liked some of the things that he's done in terms of his quickness off the ball. So he's a guy we're looking at. And then from the linebacker position, EA. We want to try to find a role for him. So we had EA involved in that Jack position, and also in a Sam position, which we'll utilize sometimes against teams when they play two tight ends, which our offense does a little bit. So we've gotten EA in there, and Reed Carrico also in that Sam position against a two tight end offense.
Fourth row left, Jacob Benj, the Lantern.
Hey Jim, just building off of that previous question there, Ryan was talking a second ago about players who have played both sides of the ball versus multiple positions on the same side, about it becoming maybe more common and whatnot. Just in your opinion, how advantageous is it for a player to go from running back to the other side of the ball, like Steel Chambers, Chip, and whatnot? Just in your opinion, how important is it?
I think it's a great advantage if you utilize it, particularly in running, like I said, in the running game and schemes, and where's the escape hatch going to be, seeing what the back sees when he runs the ball, and also understanding protections, right? I mean, I think from a linebacker perspective, as much as we blitz our linebackers, that if you understand protections, how a back protects or where he protects, how the slide goes, all those technical points of the game, you can really take advantage of that knowledge.
I know we talked a lot about linebackers, but just on the defensive line, Tyleek Williams, we got to talk with him last week, and he mentioned how he's really changed his body compared to when he came to Ohio State a year ago. What are your early impressions of Tyleek, and just where do you think he can go this spring?
I love what Tyleek's doing. I'll tell you what, he really shows up on tape, jumps off the film at times. I've been really impressed with our D-line. I think having Coach Johnson, who's, I consider the GOAT in that area, he's in making the transition, that group is really critical for us, and they've been impressive. I mean, really across the board. Just the way they come off the ball, I think, is going to give us an advantage. Our defense looks a lot different in team versus 7-on-7. So we compete every day against one of the best offenses in the country, the great quarterback, great receiver group. So we need that pass rush, and we look a lot different when we have those guys up front. I've been very impressed with that whole group.
Fourth row right, Jeremy Birmingham, Lettermen Row.
Jim, obviously you guys are pretty loaded at linebacker right now, as Ryan Day talked about a little bit, but what has been the early impression of the early enrolled linebackers with C.J. Hicks and Gabe Powers? Just how are they adapting physically to the speed of the game, that kind of stuff?
CJ shows a lot of short space quickness, and his feet are excellent, and he has a outstanding ability to break on the ball. So I think I'm seeing from CJ a lot of the quickness and speed that I expected, and then Gabe is. He's quiet, but I think he's one of these guys that gets better every day. I mean, he is a serious student of the game, and I just see his trajectory as just in 6 practices as being completely upward. You know what I mean? He's a guy who just wants to learn, wants to grow, and he makes that transition from the classroom to the field. Doing good.
Summer you have Tony Styles coming in and joining them probably at linebacker also. How do you convince guys that are all top 30 players in the country that special teams might be their role or not at all? And for you just personally as a coach, how different is it to have that level of talent where you can just tell these guys, hey, you don't need to play right now, you just need to learn?
Yeah. Sonny will start at safety. I mean, he'll begin his career at safety at least. We want to give him a shot to do that. He's big and rangy until I get to see what he can do. But I don't talk about it that much because I want to keep pressing them to compete, right? I mean, I want to make it one day at a time. I say get better, they say every day. We have these little sayings back and forth to each other. So I don't really talk about that. I just want to keep pressing and pressing and pressing, and how good can you be, where are you going to go? And then, it all kind of works out. You get to the first game, and it is what it is. But Parker does a great job on special teams of showing the guys film, of like Pete when he played special teams, and then he was a second, as a young guy, so he shows them some of these first, second round draft picks and how they started on special teams. So we put that message out there, but we don't pull off or really have a conversation with them until it gets really close to the game, because we just want to keep driving them to be as good as they can be.
Third row right, Doug Lamarice, Cleveland.com.
Jim, when you have a big group of linebackers like this, would you ideally rather have 2 guys seize jobs and be like, I'm not coming off the field, these are the guys? Or would you rather have maybe 4 or 5 or 6 different guys that you rotate just to give them breathers or situationally this year?
Yeah, I think you'd always like to have more. You'd always like to have more. Now, a lot of times at linebacker, it does come down to just a couple guys who play and into the rhythm of the game. But you want more, because you want that ability, if somebody goes down, or to spell somebody, or to rotate. I think linebacker is a feel kind of game, like a running back. So the best will play a bunch, but you want more guys that are competing. You want guys that are tugging on your shirt saying, Coach, why am I not in there? And then, if there's something incomplete about their game, you tell them, okay, well, this is why you're not in there. But if it's not, then you got to put them in there. You know what I mean? So you want guys that are good enough and are pressing to go in. You want as many of them as you can have.
You talked about that sand position, and when you're facing 12 personnel, I mean, I'm assuming, Wisconsin, Iowa, I guess, right?
Right.
Maybe some teams on the schedule.
Right.
I apologize. How often did you face that at Oklahoma State? How often was that a consideration in making sure you?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, we were prepared for it, and we faced a good deal of 12 personnel, but we never really had to get into it because 12 didn't really play like 12. So 12 was playing more like 11, and we were able to do mostly everything with our base defense. So we had the sub package, I call it, prepared, but we didn't have to use it a lot. I predict, we'll have to use it more here, based on the Big Ten.
Just some of those offenses, you've got to get that third linebacker on the field with the personnel they put out there.
That's right. Yep.
Front row left, Steve Hellwagon, 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, Coach, I've noticed on your Twitter, after a lot of the practices, you put out a silver bullet of the day or whatever, and just curious what some of the parameters you're looking for. I presume it's people who are picking up concepts, playing fast, those kind of things. Just, and what kind of positive reinforcement does that bring, and are they competing for that every day?
Yeah,
Guys
they're competing. We finally gave it to Mitchell. I think was just the most recent guy, and he had been in the running. We kind of let them know, also receiving votes. Kind of like they, also receiving votes. So you're close to it. Yeah, we let them know. Yeah, it's a staff vote every day. Every day we have a practice in pads. We kind of go around the room after we're done watching all the film. 7-on-7 inside drill team, and guys nominate guys, and then we vote on it. So, film don't lie, like they said, right? So it's just a matter of, like you said, who's that guy who's not only picking up the concepts but making plays, playing with great effort.
Free Carrico is a guy kind of got swept under the rug last year because he redshirted. We didn't see him a whole lot. One of the many guys you've inherited here. Just what's your thought first few weeks, first couple months working with him, and has he got a chance to push his way into some playing time perhaps?
Yeah, Reed has a chance. I mean, he is a quiet guy, but he's definitely determined, and I see him making progress every day. And then we had Cade when he was with us, kind of working that Sam position as one of the guys, and put Reed in there today, and I thought he did a great job. So I think he's got a chance to really contribute in that area.
Right behind him, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Jim, can you, I guess, maybe first conceive the idea of the Jack or Leo and how you move it around? Was that more of a means to disrupt an opponent's run game or a pass game? Is that, you see some guys who played it, they have some high sack numbers, but it also feels like it's a really disruptive position in terms of putting a wrench in what the opponent wants to do with its run game.
Yeah, it's a great question. It started definitely as a run scheme disruptor, right? Because you talk to offensive coaches, and they're always, they have to make different plans for 3 down, then 4 down, and what are you, and can you do both out of the same personnel? So it starts as a run game disruptor, and then it goes to how to attack, protections. And now all of a sudden, once you got the guy moving around, you got him different places, now you see how the offense adjusts to that in their schemes, and you can come back with other things and counter in the passing game. That player is productive in terms of the pass rush because I think they develop a mentality. They develop a mentality of being kind of a wild card, being a guy who makes plays. I think it's a great recruiting tool. But yeah, it started in the run game. Take the zone read. Easy, right? So now you take that guy and you send him off the edge. Is he taking the running back or is he taking the quarterback? So that I can make 2 different calls, and you got a speed guy, a tough guy coming off the edge, and which one's he going to take? It's a disruptor right there.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row.
Jim, when you talked about the download and then back it off in a spring, I would think that given the urgency to come in and get results right away and fix it, you'd want to throw everything at them. How do you balance the patience that you seem to have shown with wanting to do everything immediately?
Meditation, cigars. You just got to look in their eyes, because we'll go in one day and we'll download 9 defenses in our jet package, which is what we're calling for the Jack, and and then you go again, you do it against cans, and you run around, you do it against just trash cans, and then you do it against the offense, and then I just run around like crazy saying, go here, go there, because you're trying to just pound. You're away from the back, you're to the back, you're just trying to move him all over the place, and then they're fine, and then you kind of see their eyes glaze over, and then you know, okay, it's time just to call base. You know, they're like, okay, give me a period to just, you know, base 4 down, and then you kind of back off. But you're right, I want to get it all in because of the urgency, but also so I can teach, right? I don't want to keep showing Oklahoma State film, so I want to get it on. I want to get it on tape, good or not so good, and then we can learn from it all summer. You know, we can put it all together and learn from it.
Do you envision then, whether they get 1 rep or 100, that they would have seen everything you want to do by the end of spring, or will there still be stuff that you get through it?
Yeah, probably, yeah. 2/3 maybe, hopefully, by the end of the spring.
Front row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Jim, when you were talking about the origin of the jack, and is there a guy from you coached in the past that you point to give guys an example? Or
Yeah, it all started with me at Western Michigan with a guy named Jason Babin, who was the first ever first-round draft pick in the history of Western Michigan, and went on to a long NFL career. So that's kind of the guy I point at and start with right there, you know. But we had some great examples from Oklahoma State with guys that would go in there and, you know, tackle both the running back and the quarterback, you know, and just be real disruptors. So there's a lot of film. You know, there's a whole clinic that I've done for high school guys on it, you know, where we can show all the different positions and everything that the guy does. There's a lot of film, but it all started with Jason Babin.
Have you fallen to it within the Western?
Oh yeah, we're still good friends, yeah.
How did he pop at practice? Like what's?
Oh, he was a running back in high school. Yeah, he was a running back in high school, like we talked about, who broke his leg his senior year and didn't play, and that's how we got him at Western Michigan. He was from Paw Paw, Michigan, and yeah, so he wasn't your typical defensive lineman, and it just kind of started to occur to me that I should try some different things with him, and you just kind of grew from there.
Switching gears a little bit, Josh Proctor, somebody who's working his way back from a leg injury and started doing individual stuff today, but you probably haven't gotten a chance to see him much. Just from kind of the little glimpses, what have you kind of like noticed about him?
Yeah, I haven't seen him really do anything. We need him. We want him. You know, I've seen film on him from last year. He's a guy that can really change the game. He's what we want at safety, so I just want him to get healthy.
Front row middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Jim. What are your thoughts on JT Tuimoloau, maybe his role in your defense? What do you think it might be? And just your thoughts on his skill set in general.
Yeah, I think JT has got great feet, excellent takeoff. His reactions are excellent. Saw him the other day play a zone read against CJ, where, you know, he played the dive and the quarterback for negative yards. It was really impressive, really impressive. You know, just got boom, boom, boom. I mean, quickness with his feet for a big guy. So I've liked everything he's done so far. I think he can be a dominant player.
I'm sure when you were hired here, you knew you were going to be inheriting some really good athletes, a lot of talent. Is it about what you expected, or is it even maybe have even more talent at your disposal than you anticipated?
I think up front, you know, it's been very impressive to me. You know, changing the line of scrimmage and the rate at which we rush the passer. I think that part of it has been very impressive. The rest is what I expected.
Right behind him, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Just a little more on the jack position. When you're recruiting that position, whether it's you're looking at linebackers who might be able to play, or defensive linemen who might be able to play, are there similar traits you see in those types of people that kind of stick out when you're trying to recruit?
Yeah, you know, it's I always talk about that short space quickness, ability to disrupt an offensive play, right? Whether you're at linebacker or you're coming off the edge. You know, I'm really looking for guys that can be disruptive. You know, sometimes fit yourself into small spaces, looking for those hips, right? You're looking for the guy who can turn the corner, real fluid in his hips, and can make plays really between the tackles. And you got to be tough. right? You got to have a toughness to you because sometimes you'll have to play in the A gap, B gap, and sometimes you're going to have to come off the edge.
Front row middle. Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
You've been pronounced all right. Hi, Jim. You've been here about 3 months. That's enough time to get acclimated. What are your, just, how are you adjusting to a new program, a new city, the whole thing?
I love Columbus. After 4 years, I call it on the plains, life on the plains. Being a city guy, I'm from Philly, so I love the city. Otherwise, I don't know. It's just football, smoke a cigar every now and then. So it's really like there's not that much to adjust to when you're a coach. The way we coach, I mean, you're in here and you're grinding, and your next practice and evaluations and working with the players, and where you're going to go with the installation. So it's you kind of have blinders on, but I do like the city whenever I get out of here.
And, you've obviously been around. This is the place where you get more blue chip guys than any place you've been, I'm sure. What's that like for you as a coach to know that, okay, I don't have to just scheme. I mean, I can have players who can just take over games, or at least have the ability to. I mean, do you feel like a kid in a candy store?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I try to keep that in the back of my mind, but I want to keep, at this point, you're right. That's going to be something that will definitely be on my mind as we actually get into a game plan, right? But right now, I want to, push them whatever level they're at, push them to a higher level, right? Continue to download information, drive them, up the hill, and then just see where we can go, spring and camp and summer, and how much we can learn. I'm not quite thinking about their talent level now, but I will. When it comes to the game plan, you're exactly right. Now all of a sudden you get to look at it and say, okay, what do I need and what I don't need?
Time for just a few more questions here. Front row right, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
Yeah, Jim, is it too early for you to name like 3 safeties you got your eye on right now that could be in that group? I mean, obviously, like you said, the jury's out on Josh Proctor until he gets to really practice, et cetera. But are there 3 safeties that caught your eye that you throw out there today?
Well, I mean, I love Ronnie. Heck, man, I think he's got the skill. I think he's got the savvy. I just think he's a great piece in the middle there to run the show back there. I just like the way he plays and handles his business, And then Court, I think, is an excellent leader. We're going to continue to look at him in terms of the matchups that he may face from wide receivers, right? Because anything he needs to improve, it's that. And I got to make sure I put him in good positions. But I know I can go with him. I know I can trust him, and I know that he's going to give everything. And that's a matter of me to put him in the right position, And I think our nickels are really solid, with Tanner, who understands everything about me and the scheme, and with Cam. And Legend's been playing there too. I mean, I think we got some impressive nickel play, But yeah, without Josh, I think we still need to have some other guys step up there at the bandit and adjuster position.
And one other quickie, is there been any time when you've looked across the line, either watching video or watching a play, and you've gone wow about one of those offensive guys? I mean, this caught your eye with this offense. I mean, from CJ to Travion, Jackson, whomever, where you just is one of those guys caught your eye?
It's every day in 7-on-7, like I said, because we're facing such a talented receiver core with great quarterback. 7-on-7 at times can be extremely frustrating, And then, our quarterback does catch my eye in watching video because, we throw a lot defensively, the things that we do in the structure. And I remember when I was at Ole Miss with Eli Manning, he was the same way in that, you know, the guys that are good, what CJ is, they can diagnose. There's always a soft spot, right? We're trying to diagnose. We're trying to bluff rotations, right, and try to deceive the quarterback and do all those and show one picture and end up in another. And I think he does a great job of just knowing, just figuring that out and getting rid of the ball, because there's always a hole, right? And you know, I talked with him today and joked with him, you know, and he likes what we're doing, you know, because it challenges him, I think, you know. I mean, we got a great relationship between the offense and defense here, and Coach Day has really, I mean, I've been fortunate. I've walked into, you know, an unbelievable culture, and there's no egos, and everybody gets along, and we're all working together, and it's not about trying to win the drill. It's we're just trying to get better on offense and defense. So it's that part of it's been fun.
You know, Jack Sawyer talked about this the other day, about just the attitude they've had since the halftime of the Rose Bowl on. I'm talking about up front, whatever is. And like you've talked about it a bunch of times here today, it's really interesting that if you get those four guys going, and how much do y'all keep challenging them about what they can be?
Oh, yeah,
There were times last year when they weren't that
Yeah.
force, you know?
Yeah, I don't know about last year, but I know that, yeah, we put in our sack package the other day when we started third downs, you know, which is just the four pass rushers regardless of position. And, you know, it's been just a wave. You know, you see those guys come off the ball, and we're bluffing and disguising around them and blitzing and trying to create one-on-one matchups. And, I mean, you see a surge. You see a surge. That's all I know, and I love what they're doing.
Second row, middle, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Just want to check, because of how quick he is with his feet and everything, is JT Tuimoloau one of the guys you would look at it, Jack, or is there something?
I think eventually, yeah. Not right now, but I know he's learning it and studying it, and, you know, we may move to that, you know, when we get, ideally, you want the position to become that Leo, but then you have to be able to do both. You got to be able to do everything. So, yeah, I think JT can do it. You know, it's just a matter of who's best and who's best up front also.
And in that group of guys that you've been impressed by up front, where does Teron Vincent fit into that? Because I know the young guys get a lot of attention, but he's a guy who's been around a while, is maybe just starting to realize some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been impressed with Teron. I highlighted him the other day for all the young guys to see. Yeah, here is a veteran, and I highlighted him chasing a receiver down the field, you know, a good 20, 25 yards, and coming with a chop, you know, attempt at the ball. And that's just a great example for all the young guys. So I've been impressed with his leadership and his effort. Even though he is a veteran, he gives a lot in practice.
Got time for one final question. Doug Maurice, Cleveland.com.
I think we could ask 400 questions about the Jack. It's just so interesting. There have been some guys here, defensive ends at Ohio State, like Nick Bosa and Joey Bosa and Chase Young, guys like that who are great rushers off the edge. If they were in your defense right now, would they be ideal candidates for the Jack? Or are there some guys that you're thinking, I don't want to move them around. I want to let them get on that tackle and just rush the passer and not be the Jack?
Yeah, if they're that talented, you know, those guys are exceptional in their field. You're not going to mess with them too much. You know, you're just going to let them go and come off the edge. You know, it might be fun, but you got to balance that with what are you taking away from what they do really well. You know.
And then when you're thinking about this Jack position, how much is the football acumen part of it, the movement and being able to figure out where they should go, and how much freedom does that Jack have moving around on a single play, or do they know exactly where they're supposed to move to because you've told them in this look, in this play, you're going to move to this spot?
Right. The football acumen, football intelligence is really important to be able to read schemes and handle a bunch of information from me, because you're right, I'm going to tell them exactly what to do. That's my job. I'm going to call them into certain things, but you know, there's a bunch of choices. You know, go here, go to the back, go away from the back, go to the tight end, go away from the tight end, go. You know, so that's all contained within the call, but there's a lot of learning that they have to do. But we want to be able to have all that at your disposal. So I think that's what makes the defense good is my job to fix problems, you know, and that guy can fix problems, you know, because I can call him into whatever I want.
Coach, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Control your. Why didn't you say go Birds? You trained me to say it. Go Birds. All right, folks, we're gonna open up questioning for Coach Wilson. We'll go with third row left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Kevin, Cade Stover, we saw him back out there with the tight ends with you today. I know you had talked after the Rose Bowl about how it was really important to have him focus on one position. Do you feel comfortable now that tight end is the right spot for him and that's where he's going to stay?
I think that would a lot be with him too now. Like I believe that to say someone's doing something that's best for the team, it doesn't work. It's got to be best for the guy. So if Cade thinks it's best for him to be there, I definitely think he has the skills to be very, very good. I think he's pushing 258, 60 pounds. He's going to have a blocking presence. He had a phenomenal winter. I grew a lot of respect for him. I probably have more respect for him after he went to defense, the way he played defense, the way he worked out in the winter, because he became truly one of the premier top leaders of this team, the way he approached our workout and all that. So my thought if he came back was I wasn't going to tie his hands. I was going to try to get him to play with the energy and the passion that he likes playing defense. We got to play under control. We can't be reckless, and we have to have some fundamentals per se. But I'd like for him to play to his strengths. So today, you know, was just he kind of came back just to give it a go here a little bit. We'll see how it's going. He's doing good at backer too. There's a bunch of linebackers, so I think you know he's trying to maybe see. You know, to me, if he just trusts his heart and that's where his heart takes him, I think he'll be good at it. If his heart leads him to be on defense, I would say he needs to stay there. So I didn't ask him to come back, or Coach Day didn't ask him to come back. He's the guy that said, "Hey, as we're going through this, can I give it a shot? Let's see." So, you know, that's where we're at. They had a good day. It looks decent. He'll be okay, but we'll see. Time will tell. I'm just not trying to force it. You know, we only put him over there in the bowl practice because we were down on numbers. But he had a ball. He had fun. He wanted to go with it. We allowed him to. You know, Coach Day's we're going to have some guidelines, and we're going to give our guys some directions, but I think Coach Day believes that, you know, you give the players a chance to make sure it's good within their heart, within their soul, what they're trying to do. So it was Cade's choice to be with us today, and he looked okay. And I'd personally like to have him back, but it's not about me. It's about, you know, me doing my job with the guys. So if he's with me, I'm all in, and we'll just see in the weeks to go and months to go where it plays out. I do agree, though, he doesn't need to go back and forth all the time. But
Joe Royer, G. Scott are a couple guys you're looking for to step up at that spot. Just so far this spring, what have you seen?
They've been really good. Matter of fact, I told them after the first week and then after last week, I don't need them to do better, but I need them to keep doing what they're doing. Just give me another day, because if you keep stacking up good days, you know, we're basically playing tackle, we're basically playing receiver, so we're doing a lot of jobs. If you just keep having a good day, you'll get more competent, you'll get more confidence, and your role is going to grow. So they've started good. They're still, you know, around the, you know, G's probably between 233 to 235 most days. Joe's around 239 to 242. Still like to find 5-8 pounds a piece as we keep moving, keep developing, but they're developing nicely. They're making some good plays in the pass game. They're better in the blocking game. Cade gives us a little bigger presence on the edge. So sometimes then it's just the matchups that Coach Day and myself or Coach Fry put them in as we develop run game and protections, because it's one thing to do a job, it's a little bit about the matchup. So it's kind of how we get those guys matched up. But I like Joe and I like G and the way they've started. And my prayers that they just continue to just keep doing it, and good things are going to happen for them and good things are going to happen for us.
Over here, far right, Adam King, WBNS 10 TV.
I know every year is different, but when you look at what's coming back on offense, the wide receiver room that's obviously stacked. I know you lose Jeremy Rucker, but in your time here, is this the most stacked offense you've had going into the season here?
I don't know. We've had some good ones, so I mean, to me, it's only good when you look back at the end. And I've always said from an offensive perspective, you can only do what the quarterback can handle, and you can only do what the line can block. So the quarterback has a chance. It looks like he's proven he can handle a lot, but now as you're evolving with new line, okay, where are their strengths and weaknesses? So I think as the line and as the tight ends with Jeremy gone, as that tight end room that we were talking about a minute ago with Dan, as that group complements the line, that will determine really what other skill guys can do. Because if you can't block it, you can't run it, and you can't throw it. So some great skill pieces. I think what has a chance to be a tremendous line and a solid tight end group, but those are groups only good with consistency. The guy comes out and kicks a 50-yard field goal, you carry him off the field, you guys have posters of him, he made one play. Those linemen, it's every day. It's every day. It's Tuesday, it's Wednesday, and every day it's going out there good on good, and you keep building that. And if we have a chance to be, like you say, stacked, well, that line will keep stacking those good days, and those tight ends stack those good days, and that'll give us the balance and the consistency to be an elite team. So it's stacked with skill, but we got to make sure we stack it with consistent upfront play to be a great team.
You look at CJ, obviously an amazing year last year. Now he goes into a full spring as the starting quarterback. How much can he grow, and how much has he grown so far in spring?
The thing I think with CJ is he still hasn't played a lot. He's played so well, and he's naturally, to me, extremely smart and visually sees things so well, things I think that are hard to coach. But sometimes when you're that good at that early, it's the ability of the coaches to make sure they don't get bored. That they keep, it's every day, Tiger would be out there with the sticks and getting the alignment right, the first thing you learn in the first lesson. So as advanced as he gets, that he stays with his fundamentals, and he keeps the main thing, and just, keeps his feet on it, keeps trusting his coaches, keeps trusting, what Coach Day and Coach Dennis and the Coach Fitch helps him out as well, what those guys are, that he believes in that, embraces that. And, sometimes you get a lot of notoriety. It's hard to quote, just keep your feet on the ground and stay grounded. He is a tremendous kid, though. And he'll keep working. If he keeps working, the great players, to me, I go back, and the few times I had a chance to see a guy like Drew Brees have a walkthrough, it blew me away, a veteran player, how well they did things. So when these young, talented players have such great success, get hyped up, the great ones have a way of staying centered, staying grounded, keeping it simple, listening to their coaches, being great team leaders. He's off to a great start. I think he's got a much higher ceiling than you've seen. I think he's unbelievably good, and there's a high ceiling for him to be a special player.
Front row right, Austin Ward, Lettermen Row.
Kevin, other than that brief cameo for Cade, you've been working with him for a while. If he stays with that tight end unit, what do you see as the ceiling for him? Can he become you've got guys that have flexed out, guys, Mitch played in the backfield. Can Cade do the all-around thing, or what do you see him doing best if he stays at tight end?
Well, the blocking piece, he's a little bit bigger than some of those guys in the blocking piece, but to be good, you need to do it all. And to be good, what we'd like to do in time, we did a little bit better last year, I thought, with Mitch, was when Mitch was in, we played the strengths that fit him. And in time, we can, if we get some consistency with Cade and then with G and then with Joe, we can play to their consistency. They all are going to have to block. What are those blocking matchups? What's the structure of the defense? And then to be good as the receivers are, we still need to find ways to get them on the field and work them in the progression. But they have to earn the right, as Coach Day would say, to command the ball. You got to be out there every day and show CJ you're going to separate and get open. If not, it's going to somewhere else, or if not, we put someone else in that deal. So I see Mitch in time being that 21 wing, a little bit of tight end, but a little bit of a fullback moving around guy. I see Cade being a tight end that we'll see where the passing grows, which I think could grow high. And I really like the way Joe and G were coming, that are the little bit more athletic I can catch, but are coming in the blocking. G probably doing as well as any of those guys with block fundamentals. It's just getting stronger and consistency with that. So in a perfect world, you put them on the field, and if they go big, we spread them out. And you got guys that can get open. And if they go little, we got some bigger bodies, and you control the line of scrimmage and help the line. It's kind of like a basketball. To me, the tight end group's like a basketball unit. And it'd be nice if they were all 6'5", 6'6", and 260 or 70 and ran 4.4. But they're not. Typically, some guys block better, some guys run routes better. But when those guys get going and you put them on the field and you can move those parts around and you can take advantage of matchups, and that's what we're looking for, whether it be a blocking matchup or a route matchup. And that's where, to me, that group can grow and enhance our 11. Right now we're in 11. It's hard not to get a Mecca out there, and it's hard not to get Jackson and what we're getting with Marvin and the Julian and the young guys. So there's going to be a lot of 11. But when 12 goes on the field, it needs to be a 12 that can go big enough to mash you and still spread you out and make plays based on how you want to match up with us. So it's like playing basketball. They pack it in, you got to hit some threes. When they spread it out, you got to attack the post. It's the same kind of deal to me at tight end.
Who do you think Cade compares to that you've worked with at that position before?
Interesting. I think he's going to be a little bit more skilled, but the one young man I thought years ago at Oklahoma, Brody Elward, one of my favorite players, a tremendous blocker, could lock you down. And he was a 4th-round pick for the Colts and played a handful of years. He's got a little bit of that defensive. I mean, because Brody was a DN. You know, there was a high school running back from a small rural town. So grew up on a farm. You know, drove a truck. You know, wore white T-shirts a lot. You know, I mean, he's, you know, but Cade's not as good a blocker as that kid is yet. But I'd like to see him be that, and I think he could be a better route runner, more complete than Brody. That's a high standard for me. But I'm chasing him to be there.
Third row right, Doug Lamere's, Cleveland.com.
Kevin, you mentioned CJ's vision and being able to see it. Obviously, you guys coach him up, he gets in the film room, but how much is a trait like that, some of it is innate, or how much can that just be learned to be able to see the field?
You know, I think the more you do it, you can some degree learn it, but I think that guy played center and guard. I've coached quarterbacks before. I stand right behind him, and I have no idea who's open because I don't see that. I see that 3 technique getting ready to slant. I see this twist getting ready to happen. I see that linebacker bumping. I see the safety rotating down. But when they start going like this and like this, the ability to see spaces, some guys are very gifted at that, and they naturally see it and they keep their eyes downfield. And they have the ability to anticipate and see spaces. And I guess through time, it's a little bit learned, and with trial and error and reps, you get better and better and better at it. And I think he had some good training. But I mean, when I was a young coach, I had a friend of mine that's now coaching in the NFL, having a great career, and he was complaining. I said, come back here and you tell me who's open. Because I don't have a clue, and I'm standing right here knowing the play. I don't know which one's open. I don't see that. But those quarterbacks do. Some guys can see it, some guys can't. You can work to improve it. As a coach, you try very, very hard to put them in as many situations as you can. But I think sometimes there is a gift that guys have it. And again, it's hard. I maybe asked that question to Coach Day, who played the position, because me not having played it, I really don't see that. But, you know, I know Coach Day standing on the sideline can see the game as a quarterback. You know, I see it through the lines of alignment. Everybody sees the game a little bit differently. Offensive views, defensive views, like Coach Knowles has. Great view and completely different than mine. We all have different views. CJ's got that view of a quarterback, and he has a unique gift of seeing it. And whether he's learned it or maybe a little, I think a lot of it's innately God-given.
I know you guys make a game plan that brings out the strengths of your quarterback and your entire offense. If you have a quarterback that you know has that skill, that can see it, do you have to call the game a little bit differently if you have to maybe help a quarterback see it, a guy who doesn't have that as much versus a guy that you think, hey, CJ's going to be able to identify what's going on out there?
Yeah, I think you just get hesitant when you're not sure what he's seeing. And one of the best ways, and I would be certain that most of our coaches would tell you, one of the best ways you know if a guy sees you, just ask him what he sees. Because when I'm watching tape right now, I'm watching with the tight ends, I'm running it back 20 times. I've watched it like the day before, and I'm sitting there for 3 minutes talking about a play. But you got about 2.1 seconds to see. What'd you see? And I don't know what you saw. And you saw it from here. We're showing you film from up here. That's nice. Years ago, we used to have the quarterback stand behind and do plays, and Sam Bradford would get mad at me and say, you know, I'm standing deeper. It doesn't even look like that, Coach. I really don't want to do this. He was kind of mad about it. Like, well, I want you guys to get mental reps. He goes, yeah, but Coach, I'm 10 yards behind where I'm really standing. That's not even the view I see. I see it from up in there. And so I just think if you try to enhance the guy, but when you put them in the drills and you ask them what you're seeing and you hope they give you feedback. I saw the linebacker do this. And as a coach, you just remember that. When you go to that tape, that linebacker better have done that. Because when that linebacker doesn't do that, you know he doesn't know what he's seeing. He's making up. He's you know, and when that happens, you get hesitant to call things. You try to call simpler things because you're not sure what he's seeing. The more you know that you can trust what the quarterback sees, the more aggressive and the more assertive you are as a play caller.
Hey, Kevin, I don't know how much you've kind of matched wits with Jim Knowles yet, because you're probably working more on fundamentals with your own units. But what are your impressions of just what he has brought to the defense and the changes he's made?
Well, I think, you know, we're still, you know, adding or just say change, like what is, they're still putting in packages or things that are in. But what, to me, I think he's done it long enough that he's got things that he believes in. And not only has things that he believes in, but I think they're packaged in a way that he knows how to implement the package and how to give his players a chance to then have confidence and see what's going to happen. They're doing a great job of multiple front or movement or alignments or coverages. So basically every play as an offensive line, as an offensive skill player, as a quarterback, they're making you mentally work. But the way it's put in, it's structurally sound. It's reasonably gap sound, and they're still making, I'm sure you'd say, a boatload of mistakes. Guys aren't lined up right, not hitting everything perfectly, but the structure appears to me to have a chance to be very sound, but at the same time making the offense work very, very hard. And, the more the quarterback has to work and the more the offensive line has to work to do their job, the harder the game. And they're making our cats work. And then he's doing it with some really good players up front where a lot of those guys are back. We're our two deep, and sometimes even our threes on defense are running around like ones and 1.5. So, I mean, there's some good-looking kids over there running around. But I think he's done it long enough. He knows what he believes in. He knows how to present it. I think he's presenting in a way that's building confidence. I think he's putting his guys in very, very good positions on the field, and they're feeding off of that, and they're starting out. We got a long way to go. It's 6 days of practice, and we got summer and preseason, a boatload of games to play, we hope. But, as we go, to me, done a long time, I like the way it looks. He's presenting a lot of challenges for us, which I think is awesome because every week we get worked hard with people trying to stop things that we do. No one plays static football. But they're playing, to me, he has a great understanding of what he believes in. And I think he has and it appears, I've not said in his meetings, but I think he has a great way of capturing his room and his players and the way he implements. And then with that, I think he's showing them feedback, the things I like, the things I don't like. This is great, do it again. So I think he's building confidence. Hey, these are errors, let's minimize this. Again, keep talking with them. But, I mean, it's been a lot of good work going against them. I mean, they're making us work, which is fun. I mean, it's challenging the coach. As a coach, it's what you like. They're making us work to find, hey, what are we blocking here? Who are we blocking? How are we identifying? What's the coverage? Where's the ball going? What do we like? It's been very challenging. It's been very, very good. It's been a very competitive. We've had to work on offense to have our share of success when we've had it. It has not been easy. We have had to work.
And just what's he like in the room, in coaches' meetings?
We split apart. It doesn't say much in this, unless asked. But he's got a great dry sense of humor that appears, and I think very intelligent and very smart guy. But again, he's got a great defensive view, and he's done it long enough. I think he knows the things he believes in. I think he understands how the issues, how to present issues to the quarterback and offensive line, and at the same time how to be sound and aggressive. And they're getting after it. He's done a long time. He's a great coach.
Sure, any cigars with you?
No, I hadn't got there yet. It's been 30 degrees. They did open my golf course Friday, and it's been 30 degrees every day since then. It's like killing me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Second row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Kevin, to run the ball the way you all run the ball, do you have to have a tight end on the field at all times, or can you accomplish some of that if you were to play 4 receivers in a back or 3 receivers and 2 backs?
I think it's easier if you do. I think if you don't have a tight end that's really good, you get forced in. The quarterback has to be a part of reading or the art because the box can always get loaded. When the tight end's there, the box is going to get loaded, but it's loaded one gap wider. So there's just some more runs. So you can do some spread runs, but when the tight end's not involved, you get into a lot of quarterback-heavy run game where now he's got to be reading an extra defender, whether it be in the zone read or edge game or the quarterback bash and power read games, or then you get into the RPO game. So to hand it off sometimes when you have 1 or 2 tight ends, you widen the edges and you get a chance to get an A or a B gap run that doesn't have to be read all the time. And even practice, sometimes Coach today would kind of look, say, hey, man, make sure when you script these plays, like I don't want a relief throw. I want to run it. And sometimes when you want to run it, you need to have that tight end presence or a 6th offensive lineman. And even you could put an offensive tackle down there and say, well, he's not going to run a route. Well, they still have to now cover the D gap because you have an A gap, center guard's A, B, C, and when you put a tight end out, now you have a D, you widen things 3, 4, 5 feet, whether you run to him or away from him, if that makes sense. So even if it needed to be an offensive lineman there, you can say, well, he's never going to run a route, but then they still have to cover down on that person. And that being said, to me, it just, you can run the ball better. That's why in the NFL, you don't see a lot of the spread run stuff, because the quarterback's either got to run it or throw it all the time.
You guys, it seems like you'll have a pretty nice group of receivers this year and a nice group of running backs. I know you've rotated 6 receivers in the past. You could have played 4 wide, 5 wide if you wanted to, but is it a philosophy of you and Ryan that we want a tight end out there because of all the things you just said?
I just think to run the ball, unless, back when we had JT, you'd probably get a lot more 10, because he was a running type quarterback, or back when, years ago when, I had Kustok at Northwestern, or Coach had Tebow, or those guys. You had running guys, and you could do the zone read or the quarterback run or the quarterback draw and all that, because you can, you can leave the tailback on the linebacker and quarterback draw. It's not this, and CJ is a very adequate runner. He's also a great passer. We don't want to overdo that. I mean, he has been very, very capable of pulling the ball and running, and we'll still have him as a running threat, but he's not our lead running threat. He's a great thrower. We can easily throw the ball, but to me, when they know you're throwing, then your rush starts hurting, because here comes, the pocket just collapsing on you. When you got the run game and you can play action and you can move the pocket and, have the quick little play action passes or the shots off of that, there's a lot of good offense. So, we're always going to be pretty good in the drop back game. We're always going to have, it looks like, because Brian's going to continue to develop and recruit great receivers. But I think to be the offense we need to be, that line and tight ends make it off the chart good, or make us talented, but maybe have some hiccups along the way.
Got time for just a few more. Front row middle, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports.
Hi, Kevin. Paris Johnson at left tackle, obviously a very talented guy. How close is he to becoming the player you want him to be, and maybe what does he need to improve on the most?
I think just out there on that one-on-one, island of pass blocking so much. He played a lot last year, but inside at guard, you got a center help on half the protections if the center's working to you. Now you're out there against probably the premier rusher of every team. I think I saw the other day, if I can believe the NFL draft experts, I think in the first round there's 5 projected first-round DNs that we played against. You know what I mean? And so that's good on good. And so he's now in a real matchup, a grown matchup that over time now, thankfully, with the guys we got and the way Coach Johnson teaches it, he's going to get a lot of phenomenal work from the one-on-one rush and every time we do team pass and team. So as we grow, it's just getting him comfortable that one-on-one I can play against an elite player. And yeah, I'm an elite talent, but I'm an elite player, and I got CJ's blind spot. So as we go, as he continues to grow and get more comfortable, that'll be a huge part of our offense being good, him being a quality left tackle.
And I'm going to ask about tight end as well. It seems like the numbers are good there now. Are you concerned at all, especially this day and age where guys can transfer without, setting out a year? Are you concerned you might lose a tight end in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I mean, we're always concerned with that, with every position. That's a part of it right now. But at the same time, with this team has not been hit a lot because the development that Coach Mick, and even the guys that left, the guys that have done the best have been the guys that stayed and gave themselves a chance to develop. And they developed here through Coach Mick and through practice and through the coaching that we have. So, it's going to be hard to keep everybody happy at every position. It's a challenge, but also, too, we're not just here to make guys happy. We got to develop them. We got to win games. So there's a little bit of give and take. So they got to embrace the competition. They got to embrace the grind. They got to embrace the consistency. They got to embrace the muck and the dirty. And because when you're playing O-line and tight end and running back and spring ball, and you do inside a day for 25 plays, that's grimy. That's dirty. That's not what you see on college football at 9 o'clock when Herb Street fires it up now. Today was college football when you're a college player. And it was period 4 and it was inside. And let's go. And there's 22 people, or there's 18 people up there trying to wear out pads. We're wearing out shoulder pads. And who wants to play, get behind your pads and play football? And the guys that are going to be good, they're going to embrace that. Because those tight ends that are going to be good have to embrace that wherever they're at to be a good tight end. They have to embrace the grind of what it takes to be that block guy. And then when you're in a place like this with Coach Day and the quarterbacks, we'll get you the ball if you command the ball. You embrace the grind. You command the ball. Your career will go your way.
Over your front row right. Clay Hall, WSYX.
If we had the cockpit voice recorder of the Rose Bowl when CJ and Jackson were having a field day, what would that sound like between you and Ryan? Let's go back to him. What was the repartee there?
Early when it wasn't going good, and I had been around some teams where we scored a lot of points, but we had a hard time maybe getting stops. I was like, just calm down. They're not. We can block them, and we can get open, and just calm down. Just we got to score again, and let's just score again, And then as we were throwing it so well, it was find a couple runs that we could go with it. They didn't tee off on the rush, you know, and the way we had protected wasn't very well against our rivals. So to come back against, you know, that one defensive end was the Pac-12 D lineman of the year. So to come back and hold up in pass pro was key for that game. We're talking about how good Paris going to be. To hold up in pass pro one-on-one. A part of the keys for Jackson was pass pro was pretty good that day. It was really pretty good that day. And it was against one of the elite rushers, okay? But to me, it was just like, you know, I didn't realize they were down the corners they were. We actually went into the game thinking, okay, we're down a couple of our receivers. We're going to have to play an old slugfest game and keep it close. And all of a sudden you fall down 14 or 17, like, okay, man, we got to lighten up. And all of a sudden we got hot as chicken grease there. We got rolling, you know. You know, and that's a credit to those guys. But credit to pass pro. I mean, Jackson made some plays, and the guy can put the ball on target, and he can see things, he can distribute it. But the pro got going. And the other, I think in a game like, you know, I think we ended up with like 110 yards rushing. But I think if you count the running plays where we threw the RPO, we had 240 yards of offense. Because sometimes we're running and he was spitting an RPO out. So in the 31 rushes, we had 240 yards of rushing. It was 7 point something to play every time we had a running play called, because sometimes they're cheating the box and he's got to distribute it a little bit, which he did. So, but my deal that game is let's just calm down. Let's just keep playing. You know, they ran in the third quarter at something that they did the Wisconsin-Oregon game, 45-38. They did like a thing on the, you guys remember on the Jumbotron? I looked at the scoreboard, I said, we're going to beat these guys 45-38. I go, come on, let's get a stop. Let's get a stop. We're going to be on 45-38, so that's close. What else? We good?
I'm going to get in trouble if I keep this going. Just one or two more there, Coach. Front row right, Tim May, Lettermen Row.
As much as you talk about CJ and him being able to see the field and see who's open, see who's not, see whatever, the dime he dropped to Jackson Smith and Jug before the go-ahead touchdown is, I don't know, where does that rank in your mind of passes you've seen thrown and what he brings to the table?
Well, the really good ones can see it, and the really goods can anticipate, and then when they're great, they're accurate. And that was pretty elite. That was accurate. That's also the receiver. He's got a lot of confidence. I think he knows sometimes if you don't command the ball, I'll look at you a second. If I don't feel good, I'm going with the next guy. I think Jackson, sometimes I'll keep hanging with you a second, man, because I know if I get it close, you got a way of getting open and making plays. So, but that was a great throw. He had a couple of those today, though.
Can you see CJ getting better right now? What in practices? What are you noticing about him?
Be a little bit louder, more command. Last year early, just you kind of, you got a lot going on now. He can still handle the thought process and everything that Coach Day and Coach Dennis wanted to do with reads and progressions and checks. He's more confident, which gives the line a lot more confidence with command presence and calling the plays and marking out cadence, calling for the ball, making IDs. Just the more he plays, the more confident he is, more confident he is, the louder he is, the more assertive that is, and our players feed off of that. Because you can tell the voice, command presence has been pretty good because now he's more, he's not that he's not thinking about the throw, but he's confident in the throw enough. He's not too. Sometimes you're thinking so much about that, you can't think about being loud on the snap count. There's a lot of thoughts going on. And when you're thinking a lot, you can't do your job. So the more he's doing it, the more comfortable he's getting. I see him having better command presence. I see him being louder. After plays, he's more, talking to guys about what he likes and sees. That's off the field. But while he's playing, he's more loud, he's more confident, he's more assertive, and it helps the line and the other players play off of that.
All right, we've got time for two more. We'll go Joey Coughlin, Columbus Dispatch.
Kevin, when DeJuan Jones decided to come back, what do you see is kind of the next step in his development, and where can he improve?
It's like Paris. We're talking about his ability to be great one-on-one, because those guys get matched up with really good players out there. And when you're playing again, to me, we're talking about the three positions: the quarterback and the two tackles. When those guys, those are the hardest jobs. That's one of the biggest mismatches on the field. That guy against him. And so as big as he is, as talented as he is, and same with Paris with the talent, their ability to handle one-on-one matchups, grown men on grown men, one-on-one, and be dominant is a huge challenge. And the great players can do that. And the great quarterbacks have the ability to communicate, see, anticipate. And as a coach, the more we can make their jobs easier, the better you're going to be. When those tackles have easy jobs and those quarterbacks have easy jobs, and you can get your scheme, like I'm talking about Jim's scheme defensively, where they can show a lot of looks, but it's easy for them. Really good offenses show you things, but it's easy for us. Really good defenses show you things, but it's easy for them. The more we can make DeJuan's job easy and let him, because he is a talent. Those are two talented tackles. Now they need to become players, and players are consistent guys every day. And we play next year against those 5 top 15, 20 draft picks, which in the Big Ten we're going to get matched up against some great ones. They can hold their own every Saturday, and at the end we can look back and say that was a talented offense because that line showed up and had those matchups every week, and that quarterback sit in the pocket and he could pick them apart because collectively you got a unit. So Dewan and Paris both have to be great guys that are great one-on-one against some of the premier matchups. And the best thing is we get those matchups in practice, so we get exposed to that on a daily basis.
Consider flip-flopping Dewan to the other side, or do you like Paris to left and Dewan to right?
Because he was there, that's kind of where I think just be for Justin. He can get a handle on that in time if it needs to go that way. But right now, we kind of thought that, would be the way to go. My thought even a year ago when they were playing guard was if you're in a right-handed stance, you're the next guy playing right tackle. So everything from moving this way now goes to go this way. Some guys are a little bit more comfortable, and sometimes it's the matchups. But one of the best guys I ever coached, Trent Williams, played right tackle in college. It's not like everybody's got to play left. Those are 2 great ones, and we'll expect them both to get the job done. If we need a flip or if there's a problem, we can move someone. And we got the young guys coming. If we need to, we'll probably get Donovan Jackson if we need to a tackle as well. But we'll keep that position. It's not going to be a problem, but that position needs to keep coming along because that is a very challenged position in college football.
And final questions, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Matt Jones competed for a starting job in 2020. He was kind of your utility guy last year. Just what does he bring to this offense?
He's doing awesome. He's in year 5. I think he got some recognition as an all Big Ten player last year as the utility guy. So he's not been bad. He's a starter, and he actually is playing very good. He and Donovan, like I say, I think with Luke, we're going to be good inside, and we get those tackles comfortable outside. That front 5's got a chance to be really, really good. Really, really good. But Matt Jones has had a tremendous winter, matured, in good health, in good spirits, in good condition. He has a chance to have a really good year. He's doing really well.
Is it set between him and Donovan, which one would be left and right?
Right now we got Donovan at left and Matt at right for now.
Is there like a strategy behind why those guys fit there better?
I think we thought that if we needed Donovan at tackle, would we move Dewan to left, or would Donovan go to left? So we got him in that little left-hand stance, so we're there to get used to it.
Coach, thank you very much.
See y'all. Whose is this?
That's Coach's. You can grab us.